You'd be hard-pressed to have not noticed the high rates in obesity in the developed world today, despite more of us than ever being obsessed with diet and clean eating. However, aside from what we're eating, we're told more sedentary lifestyles are a big contributor to the obesity epidemic. Only 50 years ago, people were significantly thinner, and that's despite being far less conscious about diet and what they were eating. In the 1950s, an average woman's waist size was 27 inches, compared with 34 inches today. So why, back in a time when people weren't fussed about what they ate and sweet puddings high in saturated fat were commonplace after an evening meal, did the population then manage to lead much healthier lifestyles? An obvious assumption is our more sedentary jobs are a contributing factor to the rise in obesity. I'll touch on that later, but let's start with lifestyles at home first. Cars. Post-war and when the country was still getting back on its feet, cars were considered a luxury and ownership was significantly lower. Just 15% of homes owned a car compared with 80% today. So alternative means of transport had to be used, as jumping in the car simply wasn't an option for most people. Let's think about grocery shopping. In the 1950s, most people had to walk or get public transport to their local shops. The growth of the supermarket was on the rise, but this concept was still very much in its early days. So shopping would involve walking between a number of stores, like the butchers, the greengrocers, the bakers, or the hardware store, compared to today, where we can shop for everything under one roof. And then with your shopping done, getting home meant either walking or getting public transport, carrying heavy bags. As the number of bags one person can carry is far less than you can load into a car boot, that also meant more frequent shopping trips during the week as well. Plus, only 15% of households owned a refrigerator back then, another reason for more frequent grocery shops to keep your produce fresh. All in all, that's a lot more walking and activity just to stock your kitchen cupboards. Let's compare this with today. We hop in a car and drive to one store where we buy everything we need, then transport a week's worth of shopping home. That requires a lot less effort and calorie expenditure than the same task back in the 1950s. And with the internet, we've made it easier still. We can order everything online without even moving from a chair. Lower calorie expenditure still. With cars less available back in the day, this meant heavier reliance on public or alternative means of transport to get anywhere. Whether you're catching a bus or a train, it required expending energy to get to your stop. Alternatively, simply walking or cycling was a popular and cheap form of transport, all burning more calories than jumping in the car or getting an Uber. In the home, technology has crept in to make chores less labour-intensive. Today, we take for granted being able to throw our dirty laundry into a washing machine and it come out clean. But it wasn't always this easy. In the 1950s, only 1/3 of families owned a washing machine, which meant the majority had to clean their clothes by hand. Often with the use of a washboard, this was a very manual process, taking much longer per item than an automatic washing machine. And with no spin cycle, hand crank wringers were commonplace, removing water from garments. Again, a fairly labour-intensive activity. So, the calorie expenditure of just washing your clothes 2 to 3 times per week was much higher than simply loading a washing machine. Then there's general cleaning. Let's think about the effort required getting on your hands and knees to scrub the floors or clean your carpets with brushes. You get the picture. Between 1950 and 1955, television in the UK had only one channel. In 1955, 2 more channels were introduced, all of which broadcast at specific times during the day. Needless to say, there wasn't much on. No remote controls, not that you'd need one. And with a lack of other technology back then, people were much more self-sufficient at entertaining themselves. And this generally meant, unless you're reading a book, just getting up and, well, doing something. Whether it was kicking a ball around in the street, tending veg in the garden, or a trip to the allotment, more calories were generally expended whilst entertaining oneself back then. Let's take a moment to compare this to how we entertain ourselves today. It's shocking how much external stimulation we absorb whilst being completely sedentary. But it's not just in leisure time that people were more active in the 1950s. Work was a lot more labour intense as well. Let's take the example of a car production line. So many more tasks on the 1950s production line were fulfilled by the human hand. When you consider the number of components in a car, it took a lot more stages to assemble one. It took a lot of hours of manual labour to get cars rolling off the line. Today, robots have replaced many of the jobs traditionally performed by hand, with greater accuracy, speed and precision. Labour of this type has pretty much dwindled and been replaced by the robotic arm. Even traditional jobs such as carpenters, bakers or even switchboard workers have been replaced with machines or computers, making tasks even less labour intensive. So, where does this leave us? We've obviously been in a period of decline when it comes to physical activity being a natural part of our lifestyle. The introduction of technology to make our lives easier, more comfortable and pleasurable has been at the price of less physical jobs and activities. The problem? Most of us haven't countered today's lack of calorie expenditure compared to the 1950s by adjusting our energy intake. Plus, the way we eat, more snacking, and the type of food we consume, high in fat and sugar, has contributed to an obesity crisis. As time has gone on, perhaps the notion of performing manual tasks seems old-fashioned for us. Today, the objective is all about making life as energy efficient as possible. In a nutshell, on one side of the energy balance, we're packing more calories into the food we eat, creating energy-dense convenience products. And on the other side, we've removed the need to expend energy from our lifestyles, so it's no wonder we're getting bigger. One thing's for sure, it's about balance. Simply put, it's a basic notion of calories in versus calories out. Back in the 1950s, people may have eaten more, but they were simply burning off more calories. Today, many of us try to diet and consume less calories, but we're expending so much less energy as part of our daily lifestyle that we have to allocate special time to be active. We expect a 1-hour gym session 3 times a week to work miracles. But when you think that 3 hours of activity is just 2% of our week, that's asking a lot. And here's the irony. We've used technology to remove so much calorie expenditure from our lifestyles, and now we're using it to put activity back in. The huge growth in sales of activity trackers to count how many steps we take, or apps on our phone to map my run or help us work out, suggests digital health tracking is the future. And if we can no longer achieve sufficient energy burn through manual labour and chores, balancing our calorie intake also needs to be done through mindful eating. Whether we like it or not, few of us are now able to manage this calorie balance by guesswork. It has to be consciously incorporated into our 21st century lifestyles. A really useful app that can help is NutriCheck. It's a calorie counter and exercise tracker app designed to help you strike a healthy balance between calories in and calories out. It has a huge database of UK and US foods, and the app scans barcodes, so it's really easy to just scan an item and log your calories. The NutriCheck exercise database has the calorie burn figures for over 1,000 activities, from household chores, home fitness DVDs and gym workouts. It also links with Fitbit activity trackers so you can sync your daily step count with your exercise diary. Having all your calorie intake and activity expenditure in one place that you can check anytime is a great way to manage your weight that only takes a few minutes a day. Download the NutriCheck app and sign up for your 7-day free trial today. And if you like what you try, save 20% with the exclusive code 1950 when you subscribe at nutricheck.co.uk.